Eh? I can start. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am excited to have you back in the class this morning. To interest you to recall that this is the 10th week of the semester. And that simply means that gradually we should be rounding up. Therefore, I'm thinking that this day, the 5th day, the month of May 2025, we should hurry up and then maybe look at this particular topic and also look at another one so that we can make sure that we cover all of the things that are required of us to be covered for this semester. At this point, I'd like to thank the members of the ICT that has been up and doing, making sure that we have a smooth entry into the class. And also making sure that our tests are uploaded for students to be able to access, and making sure that the result of same have gotten at record time. And in this regard, we would like to appreciate Engineer Yusuf so very much for making sure that all of the things that are needed to be done to have a very smooth classes are being put into place. I like to therefore remind you students that after the class of this morning, you should still wait around for your tests for this morning. And do not forget that attendance is very, very important. Make sure that you also tick accordingly, and make sure that the accessibility you've been given to actually have your attendance ticked is strictly adhered to. Attendance is very important in this university. Without you having the necessary percentage of attendance, you might not be allowed to write the examination. So please note all of this is very, very important. Having said that, without further ado, we'll go straight to the class. We concluded our last class around moral problems plaguing Nigeria, where we spoke about conflict of identity, crime and violence, corruption, perversion of justice, cultism, drug abuse, substance abuse, addiction and trafficking, internet fraud, kidnapping, and a host of other ones like that. And then we also went as far as looking at how this particular malaise could be addressed in the society, what we need to do, particularly as member of the society, to bring about orderliness, to bring about a society that is almost free of crime and violence, that is almost free of corruption and perversion of justice. We also look at some of these issues the last time we met. So today we will continue from there by looking at causes and effects of moral problems in Nigeria. The causes and the effects of moral problems in Nigeria. Good enough. We have been able to identify certain challenges and difficulties that we have. So we want to look at the causes of these particular moral problems and the effects that these problems may have, and indeed is having, in our national growth and our desire for national cohesion and prosperity. Now, breakdown of the family unit or lack of parental guidance is one of the major issues that is causing moral problems in Nigeria. Breakdown of the family unit. Look around you today. What you basically see is single parent everywhere. And then, like we have said, and for the option time, that it takes a man and a woman to raise a child successfully. It takes a man and a woman by divine ordination to raise a child. That is not supposed to mean that we have not gotten single parents who did a fantastic job of raising their kids on their own. Yeah, we have a whole lot like that. But the fact remains that there will be one particular thing that will be missing in the life of those kids. It might be psychological, it might be emotional, It might be in terms of moral challenges and difficulties and all of that. There will definitely be something that is missing because the way God designed it, it is a man and a woman that is expected to raise a child successfully. All of these will take care of the physical growth, the mental growth, the psychological growth, the emotional growth, and several other things like that. So when we now have, as we do have in our society today, breakdown of the family unit, lack of parental guidance, and a host of other, these are things that therefore could bring about moral difficulties, moral problems, and ethical challenges within our national life. Another one is materialism. Our society is very materialistic. We often don't have the philosophy that what we drive is not as important as what drives us. So each and every young person out there is thinking of how to buy a car while being a student, how to have a two-bedroom apartment with about 75 inches TV, with a home theater that is about 350,000 naira. They're just thinking of acquisitions and all of that. And then if you see our stars, maybe musicians or artists and all of that, and you look at their compound, how they gather cars and all of that, and these are the things that they show whenever they have videos being aired. You see a whole lot of materialism, a display of stark materialism and all of that. Even though oftentimes they are not even the owner of those vehicles that they keep showing in their musical videos and all of that. So, but the fact remains that all of this has a way of, helping this particular generation to think that everything is about material possession. You have to grab, you have to pursue, you have to take, you have to just grab, whether it is okay for you to do that or not okay, whether it is morally sound or otherwise, whether it is godly or not godly. Just make sure that you grab. Now, this philosophy is precipitated upon the fact that the end justifies the means, and it is a wrong mentality. Both the means and the end must be justifiable. So this philosophy that the end justify the means, it doesn't matter whether you cut corner, it doesn't matter whether you have to kill somebody, it doesn't matter whether you have to do money ritual, it doesn't matter whether you have to do internet fraud, it doesn't matter, just get money. Now that philosophy is very, very wrong. Very, very wrong. And sadly so, because that is basically the idea that characterizes this particular generation. The the philosophy that they have is that, okay, you have to get rich or try dying. I mean, die trying. I mean, you have to get rich or you die trying to get rich. And the philosophy that, okay, the end justifies the means. But again, like I've said a few seconds ago, both the means to that end and the resultant end must be justified, must be made justifiable within the parameter of moral framework that we have in Nigeria and indeed as a society. So all of these are things that indeed could cause moral problem and indeed are causing moral problem. Another one is mental set. When you have the idea that I have to just get money. No, 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 no. University education is a scam. And then you are just basically here because you just want to satisfy your parents. But the fact remains that you have other things that you are doing and that are very, very bad, very, very terribly bad and all of that. So you have this mental set that you have to just, make money and then you have to just make it. So that you make it or you die trying and all of that. That type of mentality is very, very wrong. And that is what is getting us to where we are today as a nation. Look at the political space. Like I did said in previous classes, our politicians, they don't actually come from the sky. They are members of the society too. Now, the thing that we see among our politicians is a reflection of the larger society. Now, you do not expect them to get to political offices and then become saints and holy and righteous and all of that. It's a symptom of the decadence that we have in the society. It is symptomatic of the challenges, the moral breakdown that we have in Nigeria. And so when they eventually get there, they mirror what we have in the society. And so oftentimes when we lament, rightfully so, I should add, that politicians are this, they are embezzling billions and trillions and so on and so forth. I don't know. It is simply a reflection of the general society. We are just simply saying that we expect them to do better. But the fact remains that it is symptomatic. It's a reflection of the general malaise that we have in the society, the general malady that we have in the society. So what are the effects of this moral problem? It leads to stunted economic growth, falling standard of education, political instability, dangers of insecurity. Then there is this terrible behavior among our young ones that they lack moral obligations, this ability to respect people who are older and all of that, people that are people of authority and all of that. So there is this particular general challenge all over Nigeria and all of that. So, and these are some of the challenges that such level of moral breakdown will cause. Now, let us now speak to moral values and religion. It is, however, imperative to state that morality cannot be discussed in isolation. To this end, it needs to be examined within the scope of religion. Now, Adelaya in 1988 said religion has helped to promote an agreement about the nature and content of social obligations by providing values that serve to channel the attitude of a society's member and to define for them the content of their social obligations. Now, this presupposes that morality and religion go hand in hand. You cannot separate one from the other. They go hand in hand. So consequently, these moral values as enshrined in our religious systems are therefore discussed as below. Number one, respect for elders or constituted authority, whether it is those security officers at the university gate or the non-teaching staff of the university or the teaching staff or teaching members of the university or any other authority that has been placed upon you, including your landlord or landlady or the person you buy stuff from in your community or in your area or in the market. People who are older, you have obligation to respect them, to honor them, and to make sure that you follow their advices and counsel accordingly. Now, truthfulness and honesty is another particular thing that is lacking in this society, and then we need to be very intentional about making sure that we do better than what we are currently doing. And all of these things are things that are taught in the church: how to be truthful, how to be honest, how to be impartial, how to be loyal, to be patriotic to Nigeria, to your state, to your university, to your community, to your family, and to yourself. And then the importance of justice towards national cohesion, growth, and development. All of these are things that are also mentioned in our respective religious affiliations. So let's look at moral values as catalysts for development. Fundamentally, a good moral foundation is an indispensable and absolute factor for social, economic, and political development. As a matter of fact, there is no development at all without a good moral foundation for the society. And like we have said again and again in the course of our interaction in this course, you of this generation, you have a very major role to play. If your desire is to birth the Nigeria of our dreams, you have a very major and pivotal role to play, to usher in, to birth, to make realizable the Nigeria that we all desire, a better and functional Nigeria that will work for everyone within the confines of our constitution and societal moral obligations. And all of these are very, very important that we stress it. Now, there can never be social or economic or political development without moral foundation. It is the moral foundation that forms the bedrock upon which a vibrant society is built, that a successful society is built, that egalitarian society is built. Without a moral framework to be a catalyst, there can never be growth and development in any particular society or country. So it behooves on us, therefore, as member of this shared space called Nigeria, that we have certain moral values that propel us, that catalyzes us towards growth and development of Nigeria. We cannot grow, We cannot succeed. We cannot excel as a people if we do not have moral values like honesty, being truthful, just, respect for elders, constituted authority, and so on and so forth. All of these things are very pivotal towards national growth and development. For instance, a particular political figure that decided to embezzle 100 billion naira of a commonwealth of a particular state. Now, that is a major problem because that amount of money can fix several things for that state. Social amenities, infrastructures, and all of that. You can imagine what 100 billion can do. How many schools it can build, textbooks it can buy, roads it can construct, and several other facilities like that. Hospitals that it can build. But if a single person appropriated that a huge amount of money for himself and members of his family and cronies, then you can then imagine the implication of that towards national growth and development. So by human capital, we mean the investment in the moral development of the people who are living in such society. Now, human capital involves giving the people the right kind of environment to sharpen them, to develop them, and to actualize the skills which they have acquired over a period of time. We all need electricity, and that is why we keep, still telling the government that they need to fix the electrical or electricity challenge, power challenge that we have in Nigeria. We have to, because there is no development without electricity, without power. And that is why you realize that we are first losing people who are supposed to be artisans. Most of them have become Okada riders. People that are supposed to be artisans, contributing immensely to the growth and development of Nigeria. They are all becoming Okada people now, riding Okada just because we have talent with power in Nigeria. So we also need to also look at this as a challenge as well. And you look at the huge investment we have made in that particular sector, and then you see the tokenism that we are getting for that investment. So if all of this will change, we need to be very intentional. And it is you and you listening to me that will have to actually, do something by the time you get to a position of authority, and to also speak even now that you're not in position of authority, and make your leaders accountable. Make them what? Accountable. Speak when it is needed and tell them that we want you to do this, and then also make them to be accountable to you. They are not doing us a service of any sort by being governors and presidents or senators and House of Rep member or chairman of local government and all of that. They are our servants. We sent them there, and we did not send them there to go and just enjoy on our behalf. We send them to go and work because they're actually getting salary for the responsibility that they have. We are paying them for it, and so we need to make them accountable. Now, the channeling of this skill in the positive direction will bring about a change in the life and the orientation of the people for maximum benefit. So when we develop human capacity, we develop moral values in the society. We train and retrain. We school and reschooled and unschooled people. And then into making them believe that moral values are very important, it leads to national growth and development and the maximization of individual skills and competencies in their areas of choosing endeavor. So human capital also involves the moral worth and development of the people. So that is very, very important that we need to tidy it up together. That moral value has a whole lot to do with national development, national growth, and national cohesion. And it is on that note that we'll end that particular topic and go to another one, which is African religion, its features and practices in societies. So Africa comprises of several clans which are bound together by languages, traditions, and religious observances, as well as beliefs and practices. Africa has a very rich heritage of what past generations of African people did experience and pass on to their children. So from one generation to another generation, we have seen a whole lot of, transference of ideals of of principles, ethical principles, moral values, cultural, artifacts, and so on and so forth being transferred from one particular generation to another one. Now, this, according to Tabiti in 1978, is what forms a long line which links African foremothers with the descendants who now feel proud of it. The African heritage is rich, but it is not uniform because we have different individuals who were like city states in the past before the Europeans and the colonizers came. Each of us, we have our respective, rules and regulations governing us. So we are city states in those days. So, and then we have our specific, areas of specializations, areas of interest, and certain moral obligations that characterize every given society. But of course, that is not to say that there are not uniform certain aspects of moral obligation, like being truthful, just, righteous, hospitable. All of that are universal. But there are still some other ones that are peculiar to each community. So among these African heritage is religion, which is the richest part of the cultural heritage. Now, according to Mbiti in 1978, religion is found in all areas of human life. It has dominated the thinking of African peoples to such an extent that it has shaped cultures, their social life, their political organizations, and economic activities. Religion is closely bound up with the traditional way of African life, while at the same time, this way of life has shaped religion as well. In this particular topic, therefore, you will be introduced to the features, nature, and some of the African practices which constitute the religious belief of the Africans. Now, let us now speak to African religion. Now, Africa is, okay, I think we've mentioned that already. Africa is a very large continent with different cultural heritage and geographical boundaries. Africa is known to consist of about 50 nations, and then generally, but around the South Sahara Desert, we have about 40, with their own diverse history, political situation, multiple languages, and ethnic groups, making up the sub-Saharan Africa. Whenever or wherever Africa is mentioned, her rich culture and religious beliefs are not left out. However, Africans have traditional beliefs that are existing at one particular body or as one particular body and practice, which are identified as African religion. Now, the religion of Africa permeates their lives, and it expresses itself in many ways, whether the way they eat, the way they drink, what they wear, how they wear it, how they greet, and then how they marry or intermarry, how they associate or relate with one another in the society, and so on and so forth, including how they pray. All of these are totally intertwined together. You cannot separate the African person from his or her religion. So, as further explained by Idowu in 1996, it forms the themes of their songs, makes topic for minstrelsy, finds vehicle in myths, folk tales, proverbial saying, and it's even the basis of their philosophy. And then I should also add that it's also the basis of their naming, how they name their children, whether it is Shangudino or it is Shogunle or it is Ogunyinka or Yagbemi or Yatoki, and so on and so forth. Theophoric names, we call it theophoric names, that are names that are coined around a particular God, and so on and so forth. So you see that we are spread. Even by those names, people will be able to identify that you are from this particular area. You're a worshiper of this particular thing or this particular God, just by your names. So you now realize that there is no way you can separate an African person from his or her religion. It's everything that we do. Our minstrelsy, what we sing, how we dance, how we do things that we do, our myths, our folktales, our proverbial saying, everything is a complete way of life indeed. So in spite of the fact that African religion has no written records, their religious beliefs and practices are known and revealed through oral traditions. Now, these oral mechanisms, which include myths, proverbs, theophoric names, like I did mention earlier, everyday speech, liturgy, pithy sayings, and songs, are their primary means of knowing something about Africa's interpretation of the universe and the hereafter. And so many things are hidden in all of these everyday speech. Their liturgy, their pity saying, their proverbs, their myth, the history of African people are embedded, encapsulated in all of these things that we have just mentioned. So even though they are not written, but they are oral, because this particular history of the past are being codified in all of their day-to-day speeches, their liturgy, their petty saying, their proverbs, their myths, their theophoric names. All of our history are codified in all of this saying. Very, very importantly, that we note that. Okay, so, and then we also have non-oral mechanisms, which are symbols, emblems, crafts, and artistic expressions. Now, when you see certain artistic expression, you know that, okay, this one is from Yoruba, this one is from Benin Empire, this one is from Hausa land, this one is from Igbo land. Even our clothes, what we wear, oftentimes, explain our identity. When you look at Adire, for instance, now, that person is from Abeokuta, and particularly Egba, and so on and so forth. And then when you look at this Igbo clothes with lion drawn on it and all of that, this is an Igbo person. When you see a red cap with the feather of a fowl, and then this is a chief from an Igbo land, and so on. So you now realize that everything about us, explains who we are as African people. There is no escape from it. It is our identity. It is who we are. It is what God made us. And God doesn't make mistake. He made us very intentionally. So all of those things that characterize our being, that characterize our society, that characterize who we are indeed things that God actually wants us to cherish and celebrate. So we have to celebrate it. We have to be very intentional about also celebrating our identity. Now, there are 5 component elements which constitute the structure of African religion. Number 1 is the belief in God. Believe in God. Number 2 is believe in spirit. Believe in divinity is the third one. And the fourth one is believe in magic and medicine. While the last one is believe in ancestors. All of these are the basic features of African religion. These features defined the African religion. They believe in God, irrespective of what the white man or the early anthropologists from Europe and America said about African people. It's bunkum, arrant nonsense. We believe in God. We have the concept of God Almighty. But of course, we do realize that we have other, gods with small letter G, through which we can approach Olodumare, the Almighty God. And how is that different from either Christianity or Islam? In Christianity, there is God, Yahweh, but we are praying through Jesus Christ to that Yahweh. So how is that one different from the Yoruba philosophy that we have the concept of Olodumare, but okay, you have to pray through Shango or through Oya or through this one or that one. There is no difference. Or even in Islam, there is Allah and then there is Muhammad. And so you now realize that they just labeled everything that is African as horrible, as bad, as animistic, as satanic, and a host of that. So, but they are arrant nonsense. We believe we have the concept of God as God Almighty. It's very pivotal to the African society. We have the concept of God, whether it is Olodumare or Chuku or whatever nomenclature is given to it in different places. We have that particular concept of God, and they believe in spirits. We believe in divinities. We believe in magic and medicine. We believe in ancestors too, ancestors worship. That's okay. Our ancestors, even though they have passed on, they have died, they also go into the cult of the ancestors, wherewith they watch over the loved ones that they left behind on earth. Now, among African societies, it is believed that some ancestors or living dead are reborn. They are reborn. So some good ancestors, those who died very well, who while they were alive, they were very good people. They respected their elders. They have good behavior. They have very good moral behavior, and then they contributed meaningfully to the society, and so on and so forth. These people, they go to the cult of the ancestors, and then they have a way of coming back again in the newborn babies of that particular family. So this is called partial reincarnation, because not the entire person is reborn, only certain aspects of his characteristics or physical distinctions are seen. And that is what often give back to certain names that will be, whether it is Iyabo, Omobowale, Babatunde, Yetunde, Yatomiwa, Baba Padawa, all that types of names that will be here that reflect the living dead, the reborn of the living dead, and all of these things are very, very important. There are even some of us that we have certain skin pigmentation that is the exact of our departed grandparents or even parents, the exact depiction, the exact thing, the same place that they had that skin pigmentation is where we are having ours too. In fact, there are some children that are giving birth to that the way they talk was exactly, and it's still exactly the way that their grandparents used to. So you see certain characteristics. So Yoruba philosophy believes that they are the reborn from among the ancestors. So in BT 1981 noted that when some of the features, characteristics, and personality of such spirits, the living dead of course, are noticed in a newly born child, people will say that so and so has come back. Baba Tunde, Ye Wande, Iyate Wamepada De, so and so has returned or has been reborn. The child may then be given the name of that diseased person. You have had a whole lot of persons saying that this particular child, mommy knew, this is my mommy, because the child is an exact replica of the grandmother with certain features, certain characteristics, and so on and so forth. So we Africans, we believe in all of these things, irrespective of what Christianity or Islam will say in this regard, but we believe very vehemently in all of these as well. Now, thus, the idea of partial rebirth is spoken of as reincarnation, but not everyone is reborn in that manner, nor is the entire diseased person reborn as such. Only some aspects of the living dead are reborn, and this is perfectly possible, even biologically, because each and every one of us, we are a culmination of 6 persons: our direct parents, biological parents, our paternal grandparents, and our maternal grandparents. These are the people that would pick our physical features, our temperament, our behavior, our actions, our attributes, physical attributes. And so these are the 6 persons that biologically makes up a new child. So it is also biologically possible for that to have happened. So furthermore, those aspects can be inherited by either boys or girls, regardless of the sex of the living dead in question. So they can also be reproduced simultaneously in several children within the family. Now, let's go to another subtopic. In the lives of individuals and families, we are looking at African African religious practices, rite of passage. Now, in the lives of individuals and families, there are important events which have religious connotations, religious implications, and which involve transition or crossing from one stage of life to another. This event is what is known as rite of passage. Whether you are doing naming ceremony, or you are doing birthday, or you are doing wedding, or you are doing burial for that a particular person, or a naming ceremony, whatever it is rite of passage, because the society defines it that you have to transit from one particular space to another, from one particular place to another one, and there are ceremonies involved in those passages. So that is why they are called rite of passage. Now, these are the circle of or stages of life. It commences from the conception of a child to birth, the passage through puberty, the new state of marriage, ordination, initiation, convocation. All of these are, stages that we have to celebrate, including your matriculation. This is also an example of rite of passage, and as well as the ceremonies of burial. All of these are cases of rite of passage. So all the rites all together constitutes the sacrament of personal and family life. These events are religiously and socially celebrated by Africans through rituals. This is because to them, religion permeates the whole of life, and Africans are notoriously religious. They are able to express themselves in their various acts of worship, which begin control, and end all the affairs of their lives. So through rituals and the various rites, we are able to walk with man as an individual from birth to death. Now, pregnancy, birth, and childhood pregnancy. In African society, childlessness is regarded as a great problem because it prevents the continuity of the human society. So much rites or rituals are connected with pregnancy and childbirth in the traditional societies to ensure safe delivery, good health, and fulfillment of life. This is because in many African societies, marriage is not fully recognized or consummated until the wife has given birth. So the issue of pregnancy is a very serious one in African society. You do not joke with it at all. And the reason is not far-fetched, is for the continuation of the human society, particularly the man involved. Now let's go to the death and hereafter as a subtopic. Now, death is everybody's concern in traditional society. It is an inevitable and disrupting phenomenon among Africans. It's a constant, it's a leveler. Everybody will have to pass through that particular rite. Will have to pass through that particular passage. So in African belief, death is not the end of life. And that is the beauty of it. And that is not even different from what we have in Christianity and Islam. It does not write finish to man's earthly journey. It is only a means whereby the present earthly existence is changed for another, where you transit from earthly life to a spiritual plane. That is what it is for the Africans and from an African perspective. So according to Professor Idowu in 1996, after death, man passes into a life beyond, which according to the Yoruba people is called Enyewa afterlife. So in this afterlife, those who have finished here go on living. This, as opined by Awolalu in 1990, is the belief in the hereafter and the power and love of the ancestors. So rituals are connected with death, are usually elaborate, and it varies from one society to the other. So people are so concerned with the various rituals because they know sooner or later, everyone will personally face it. And also because it brings loss and sorrows to families, clans, and the entire community also could be in sorrow as a result of the loss of their loved ones. So that is seen by the African as part of the natural rhythm of life. And paradoxically, every human death is thought to have external causes, making it both natural and unnatural. So although the dead person, according from an African perspective, is cut off from the human society, the corporate group clings to him through the ancestral call. Ah, orí ìyá mi máa sùn o. Ah, orí bàbá mi lọ́run máa sùn o. You know, you have heard people saying that because they believe so much in the cult of the ancestors. They believe that their departed loved ones are still living and among the ancestors and all of that. So oftentimes they call for their assistance, they call for their help at one particular point or the other. So African religion and modern challenges. So that is the next thing that we want to talk about now. When we look at this, then we'll draw the curtain on the class for today so that you'll be able to have enough time to go and attend to your test and take care of your attendance as well. Now, African religion and modern challenges. Despite the thought that African religion has many forces militating against it and underscoring its importance in the modern age, it is striving at all costs to find a renewed life. A whole lot of factors are militating against it. Christianity, Islam, westernization, urbanization, Western philosophy, and a host of others are actually militating against African religion. It has within it an inexplicable seed of immortality. So, in spite of all of these challenges and factors militating against it, African religion continues because even those who claim to be Christians and Muslims have a cause to their African religion, their traditional religion. So, it is immortal. As it was then, so it is now, and so it is going to continue to be. So it has written, it has within it, that is African religion has within it an inexplicable seed of immortality, which has been planted on a fertile soil and which continues to give nourishment to the tree, resulting from the seed and under which men and women come to seek refuge from time to time. So we have seen instances of people who are of the Abrahamic faith, returning back to their um, traditional religion. In fact, in the society of today, a whole lot of young persons are outwardly um, coming forward to affiliate, to associate themselves with African religion. Just go to social media, you see all manner of persons with videos on TikTok, Facebook, and other social platforms, openly advocating that people should come and join the African religion and all of that. So all of these are also point out to the fact that African religion is indeed immortal, and it continues to be so because it reflects our very identity. It underscores our yearning for spiritual expression. And all of these are the reasons why, even in spite of the Abrahamic faith, people are still finding their way back in one way or another to our African religion. So it is on this note that we'll be ending the class for this morning. I want to thank all of you so much for being part of it. And I'd like to encourage you, as I've said for the often time, that you should go and then attend to your test. Briefly read in the next few minutes, the next 3 minutes, briefly run through all the things that we have said so that you can refresh yourself before the test. All of these tests are very, very important. They will constitute your continuous assessment of 30%, where with the examination will now be 70%. So if you have 20% already, thereabout in your C, so all you just need is an additional 20 or 30 to be able to pass this course. So I'd like to encourage you very vehemently that you should quickly reflect on all the things that we have said before going ahead to do your test. I want to thank you again, and I hope to see you again next week. Until then, remain blessed.